The Greatest Show on Turf is one of the greatest offenses of all time. In 1999, the St. Louis Rams scored 526 points, averaging 32.9 points per game, and led the NFL in points scored. In 2000, the Rams improved on that total, scoring 540 points, averaging 33.8 points per game, and once again, leading the league in points scored. And in 2001, the Rams scored 503 points, averaging 31.4 points per game, and they led the league in points scored. From 1999 to 2001, no other team in the NFL scored 500 points in a season, and the Rams did it in 3 straight years. It's an unbelievable group of players on offense. Leading the charge was Hall of Fame quarterback Kurt Warner and his rags to riches story. He made it to the Pro Bowl every year during the stretch, being named MVP of the league twice. At running back, you had Hall of Fame halfback Marshall Faulk, who was a Pro Bowler every year during the stretch and was named MVP of the league in 2000. And at wide receiver, you had Isaac Bruce and Torry Holt. Bruce is a Hall of Famer, while Holt finished his career with over 13,000 receiving yards and will likely wind up in Cannon someday. From a skills position standpoint, you had a Hall of Fame quarterback, a Hall of Fame running back, a Hall of Fame wide receiver, and a probable Hall of Fame wide receiver. Now imagine that the Rams had another Hall of Fame receiver on that offense. Imagine that when running 3 wide sets, Warner could have thrown it to Faulk, Bruce, Holt, and Cris Carter. That's right, Cris Carter almost joined the Greatest Show on Turf. And this is the story behind that. Cris Carter is one of the best receivers to ever play the game. From 1993 to 2000, he put up numbers that few could touch, recording 779 receptions for 9,456 yards and 90 touchdowns in that stretch. He made it to 8 consecutive Pro Bowls as well. And in 2001, even though he was 36 years old and somewhat past his prime, he still had a solid season by NFL standards. By his standards, it was his worst season since 1992. But his 2001 season, where he had 73 receptions for 871 yards and 6 touchdowns, was nothing to scoff at. For some perspective at the time, only one player in NFL history had that many receiving yards, receptions, and touchdowns at the age of 36. Not surprisingly, that player was Jerry Rice. Make no mistake about it, Carter could still play, and especially if he was being asked to be a wide receiver 3 behind Torry Holt and Isaac Bruce, he would have been more than serviceable for that role. After the 2001 season, Carter decided to opt out of his contract with the Vikings. Things weren't looking great for Minnesota on paper, as they went 5-11 and they were looking for a new head coach after firing Dennis Green. So Carter decided to opt out and try and sign with the team that he thought had a good shot at the Super Bowl. And what better place to look at than the Rams? They had just made the Super Bowl in 2001, they won the Super Bowl in 1999, and they had the best offense in football. Plus, the Rams just lost their wide receiver 3 from the peak of the Greatest Show on Turf era, as Azar Akeem left in free agency to join the Detroit Lions. Carter would have been a natural fit, and would have filled a need. There was interest on both sides. So why didn't the deal get done? Well, even though the Rams wanted to meet with him, Carter wanted to test the market. And so, looking to win a Super Bowl in the waning years of his career, he does what any player does in this situation. That's right, he delayed his meeting with the Rams and talked with the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns. I'm not even going to say anything about that because the jokes write themselves on that one. When the deal with the Browns fell through, he wanted to go back to St. Louis. This time, though, the Rams turned their back on him. They had already signed 2 receivers at this point in free agency, signing Terrence Wilkins from the Colts and Troy Edwards from the Steelers. And considering Carter's well-documented relationship with Dennis Green, and the fact that Carter spurned the Rams earlier in the process, St. Louis decided that it wasn't worth it. This entire situation could have been avoided if Carter had a fall guy. Eventually, Carter retired to take a job with HBO to join Inside the NFL, before unretiring midway through the season to play for the Miami Dolphins. After a pretty unproductive stint in Miami, he retired for good after the 2002 season, and eventually made the Hall of Fame a decade later. But imagine for a brief moment, an offense where Kurt Warner is throwing it to a Hall of Fame running back and 3 Hall of Fame receivers. Because this was one Cleveland plane ride away from actually happening. Special thanks to all our Patreon supporters for helping out the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. See how you can become a patron and request future video topics in the description below.